Absolutely. And that's one of the best parts about this job, and making the decision to go full time and then running with it, right? Instead of, working for an hour a day and spending the rest of the time at the pool like you could do because you don't have a boss. Welcome to the Influencer Income Show, the only show on social media that teaches you how to become an influencer by hearing from those that are at the top of the game. I am so happy to have with us tonight Mr. Matt Ramsey from Cooker of Deliciousness. If you haven't heard of him or seen his content, you need to go check it out at influencerincomeshow.com. Matt, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you. You have a wealth of knowledge in social media. You've been around the block, as they say, a time or two, and certainly know your business and know what it takes to get this thing done. So looking forward to hearing what you have to say tonight.
Yeah, I got plenty to say. Just ask my wife.
Hey, that's why we're here, right? We'll get that all out here so your wife doesn't have to hear it after we're done, right? So we'll go in. So let's get started here. If we just jump right in, tell us about your story and your journey on social media. How did it come about? And let's get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I never expected to get into social media. I'm not the most computer literate person. Actually, I've been a nurse for 20 years. I had a buddy who is also on social media. He does woodworking. His name is Matthew Peach Woodworking. He was having some success, and he's really blown up in his niche. And he was like, man, you always post pictures of what you're cooking. Why don't you start posting on social media? He talked me into finally, I put it off for months. He talked me into doing a TikTok. And then, I'm persistent, I'm stubborn, and kept at it. And somehow it took off, and here we are. And I have no idea why. I'm definitely not a chef. I'm just, if you look at my bio, it says amateur cook of tasty eats, and that's what I am.
Absolutely. Well, in seeing your content and watching it, not only as a fan, as I am, but also getting ready to talk to you here, you have very relatable content, it seems, at least in my opinion, to the everyday working family who likes, like you said, tasty eats, but isn't going to necessarily spend 2 or 3 hours getting dinner ready for the family after work. So kudos to you, first and foremost, for identifying that niche and figuring out, what works. I guess my question there would be on that, and this is an important one for anybody that may be new or thinking about getting into the business. Was that intentional, or was that just kind of how it came about naturally?
No, I just kind of post the things that I enjoy eating. Starting out, I only did things that we would eat here at the house. So basically you weren't seeing many vegetables on my page. As I've grown now, it's gotten so much that we can't eat all of the things that I cook. And if I want to diversify a little bit, I will cook stuff for the neighbors. And if I want to include vegetables and certain things that we don't like, if you ever see mayonnaise in a recipe of mine, 100% I'm not eating it. And if it touches my finger or anything, whenever I might throw up. Mayonnaise is my kryptonite.
Is it all mayonnaise, or is there any particular brand out there that resonates with you a little more than another?
It's all mayonnaise. The one thing, ranch, I can eat, but if it has a hint of mayonnaise, too strong mayonnaise, then I can't do it. I'll make my own buttermilk ranch using sour cream and buttermilk. Yum yum sauce, just a little bit on the rice, but no, man, I can't do it.
There you go. Well, to each their own. And, what I've seen from cooking in the yard and posting content on my channels is that flavors are subjective, right? Everybody's got their own favorites and things that they love and they hate, and it may vary from one person to the next, and things taste different to other people, right? So
right.
Certainly something that we've learned along the way from the comments section, usually. With that being said, right, you talk about you cook the things that you eat or your family was eating. How did the social media part of it take into effect, right? You had your buddy that was in the woodworking business, kind of encouraged you. What kept you going after those that first video or two?
So I did, a few videos, and after 2 weeks, I had a video that it was I called it the Kentucky cheesesteak. It was just a steak and cheese sandwich that I made on the griddle. It got 10,000 views. And my buddy, the woodworker, he was like, man, that's fantastic for 2 weeks into social media. So that kind of gave me a fuel to my fire. And I was just decided I'm going to be persistent with this. And so I kept pushing. After a couple of months, I hit 10,000 followers on TikTok. I started out with only TikTok. I had a personal Facebook page, but that was the only
Okay.
social media I had up to that point. So one night, I'd always wanted a big dog. We had a little Bichon that passed away in 2013. She was the best, but I always wanted a big dog. And so I made a video and I asked my wife, I was like, how many followers do I have to get on TikTok for us to get a big dog? And I always wanted a chocolate lab or a Rhodesian Ridgeback. That was the two. And she said 100,000 followers. And I was like, challenge accepted. And
There
so
you
that
go.
really fueled my fire. And I was like, I'm making this content. Like, I'm one of those people that I'm not going to be super talented at anything, but I am persistent. And if I set my mind to something, it's going to happen. If I want something, it's going to happen.
And that's what it takes to navigate social media, right? With all the ups and the downs, to have that, I guess, as you would say, that carrot hanging on a stick out there to chase and to continue going after, having that bigger why than just, oh, I'm going to cook dinner tonight and post it, and who cares from there, to keep you
Right.
going through the peaks and the valleys. It's really important. And I think a really good takeaway that new or up and coming creators can take from Matt here is being passionate about what you're doing and having that why, that to continue to go after there. So with all of that said, what have you come to find is the hardest thing about social media and doing this job day in and day out?
To be honest with you, what you just touched on, peaks and valleys. Like, man, I'm telling you, like, if you put a video out there and it takes off, which also is a lot of times videos you don't expect to take off,
Yeah.
it is like a huge, like, dopamine rush. It is such a good feeling to wake up and have a video that's going viral. But like there'll be periods where like you'll be in a low point. You'll be like, man, I'm like really working hard and like nothing's paying off. And at this point, this is my career now, and like I'm depending on this. And like, what am I doing wrong? So you really start like searching for solutions, and it's basically like keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing. That's what got you there, and it always somehow works out. I also look at it like this career for me now is an absolute blessing. I'm still have my nursing license. If I ever need to go back to work, I'll go back to work as a nurse. I hope that never happens, but I will do what I need to do to pay my bills. It's just keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing, and I think it'll usually work out.
Absolutely. And when I'm looking at content and when I'm looking at how videos are performing from my standpoint, what I focus on is the content. And I always focus on trying to make better content. In the early days of me being in the influencer business, I always get stuck in the weeds of, okay, I posted this on this day and it didn't work, so I'm not going to post on that day anymore. And what I really learned over time is that when you hit that piece of content that your audience really loves, that's when it's going to take off.
Yeah.
Do you see the same thing too? Do you see certain pockets of food content in your world that do better than others typically and take off more than not?
Yeah, and sometimes it's things that necessarily aren't my favorite things to cook, and like I did a video, and it's crazy. My wife's been making like a grape salad for literally 20 years. It was her grandmother's recipe, and we made it for a potluck a couple weeks ago, and I put it on there, and it got like 3 million views on TikTok or something, and I was like, that's not something that like I'm making on the regular. It's like I'll eat it, but it's not like something that I love. Yeah, things like that are quick and easy. I think the algorithms find your niche, and my niche is things that are quick and easy. I enjoy doing a lot of barbecue content because that's what I want to get good at, and I never did any type of cooking at all until 2010.
Gotcha.
So,
And then is getting into cooking and then you're getting into social media from there. Would you say that you've learned more about being a better cook from being on social media, or has that changed much for you along the way?
oh, 100%, but it's like through trial and error. I can't tell you how many times that I make something, and not everything that I put on social media is going to look perfect, but it's still going to taste great if I put it on there. But there's a lot of stuff that never makes the cut, and it's like, man, I just spent $30 to make this, and like it's not even, I can't even get a video out of it, and that's frustrating because
Mm-hmm.
things are expensive today. I mean, like since COVID, I mean, groceries have gone through the roof, and so you really want things to work out, but they don't always work out on the first try.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we all know about social media, for better or worse, generally worse, is that it is a safe haven for keyboard warriors and bullies and, people that just show up in the comments and say things that they would absolutely never say to anybody's face in real life.
Right.
How do you deal with that negativity when it comes, or that toxicity that's out there potentially?
when I was first on there, I was like, I didn't want to say anything because I was worried about it. Like I didn't want to like hurt my page or anything, so I would just like basically let them say things. But it's to the point now where like I chirp back at people in a tactful manner, and I even sometimes will save those comments and post them on my personal Facebook page that only my friends can see, and let them get a little laugh for the night because it's not like I don't know, like there's so much negativity in the world now. It's like the way I've always looked at it, if I see something I don't like on Facebook or TikTok, whatever for that matter, I scroll
Mm-hmm.
past it.
Yeah.
But if I see something I do like, I try to leave an encouraging comment, or
Mm-hmm.
it's just I feel like so many people are maybe miserable in their own lives, and maybe it gives them a little joy to deflect that and try to come at you on social media, but it doesn't make it right. But
Yeah.
that's just the way I look at it, and it's just my opinion.
Just a quick break in the show to say thank you very much for watching this week's episode of the Influencer Income Show. While we're here, please take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell to be notified whenever a new show comes out so you don't miss anything. If you're up for it, I'd love to see a comment from you telling me what you think of the show or any questions you've got for your favorite creators. All done? Awesome. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show. Yeah, absolutely. You see videos where people are just going back and forth and arguing, and it's a lot of energy wasted. And I think from a content creator perspective, I think it's okay to stand your ground. Me personally, I'll do that from time to time too. But at some point, it just becomes a point where it's like I'm wasting time where I could be making better content. I could be engaging with followers that really want to talk to me. So you really have to pick your battles that way.
And that being said, though, the trolls definitely do increase your engagement, and engagement is money in your pocket. So it is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just frustrating. It's like people like we have feelings too. It doesn't affect me a whole lot because I just know maybe they're just having a bad day, or maybe they're just a turd of a person. But I'm not going to let it ruin my day. It's all I got to think about is like, you know what? I'm doing this for a living now. And it's like, I'm 100% living. I wake up every morning, honest to God truth. I wake up every morning. I'm like, Matt, you're living the dream. Like I literally could not imagine my life being any better as this than it is.
Absolutely. And that's one of the best parts about this job, and making the decision to go full time and then running with it, right? Instead of, working for an hour a day and spending the rest of the time at the pool like you could do because you don't have a boss. We've talked about some of your platforms. I've heard you say Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I know you're on YouTube as well. What are some of your numbers like for any audience members that aren't familiar with your content? How many followers roughly do you have on your platforms currently?
TikTok, 1.4 million, Instagram, 400 and I want to say 425, maybe a little bit more than that. And then Facebook, I just hit 1 million a couple of weeks ago, and that's where I get the most engagement is on Facebook. YouTube, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I can't get YouTube to grow. I'm at like 5,700 followers on there, and it's like it's frustrating. But that being said, I only post shorts mainly on YouTube, and like I don't go to YouTube for shorts. I go to YouTube for like instructional. So it's just not being kind to me, but maybe it'll break through at some point.
Persistence, right? And you've got a stockpile of content you can keep feeding into it, and things might change at some point. And with that said, those are congratulations. Those are absolutely staggering numbers. And even for people that have been in the game much longer than you are, looking up to you from a follower standpoint, and the numbers. What do you attribute that to? I know you mentioned stubbornness and persistence earlier, but if you're in the elevator with somebody and they go, "Wow, you've got millions of followers. How did you do that?" Like in 30 seconds, what would you tell them?
Definitely stubbornness, persistence, and then possibly just being really ridiculously good looking. I don't like that's the only other thing I can think of.
Well, I can see all those check boxes just lining up right now. I mean, I can see that right in front of me. That's great. You got me there.
I'm going to take another drink of bourbon now.
Cheers. All right, back to it. So with the social media numbers, the following that you've got, the work ethic that you put into this, was that always there, the work ethic and the persistence, or did that grow over time as you got larger? Were you doing the same amount of work at 50,000 followers as you are now with multi-millions?
Yeah, I mean, It's kind of a trade-off because, like, I think whenever I first started, I was trying to get several videos out a week because I was trying to grow, but I was also working full time as a nurse. And also, like, for me, number one, and will never being a dad is number one for me. So I'm a dad first, husband, and then the social media comes after that. And
Mm.
that still rings true today. So quitting my job as a nurse and doing social media full time, the main reason I wanted to do that is so I could watch my kids grow up. I got two kids in high school. My daughter's going to be a freshman. My son's going to be a junior. He wrestles. She does cheer. Like, I'm not missing that stuff. They get to do
Yeah.
that one time, and it's just not going to happen. So that comes number one. And then I need to get better at time management, but I really just try to, whenever I do have the time, do a lot. Like, there might be a day that I have to do 4 videos to make up for, and then there might be times where I'm traveling a lot, and I just got back from a 10-day trip out west. And so, like, I had to really, like, cram a bunch of videos before that. So I had videos to post while we were gone. So you just got to kind of, like, pick and choose and do the best you can with time management. And it's not always easy, but I seem to somehow make it work.
There you go. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just got to be good
Right.
enough to keep the
Right.
machine going, right? Very good. So if we change gears just a little bit here as we move through our conversation, you must get tons of deal requests in your inbox all the time. And what I really want to know, and what I would love for you to share with our audience at this point, is how you're evaluating those deals. When you look at those, what are important to you? Obviously, dollar amount, right, is a big driver of a lot of things. That's why we're in it. That's how we feed the family and pay the mortgage, et cetera. Aside from the money part of it, what are some of the things that you care most about?
Number one is this a product I want to use myself? Number two, is it a quality product?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then something else that is very big to me is personal relationships with my long term contracts. Like, I'm a people person. I just think when you get to know people, like, things go smoother, like who they are, what their intentions are. So, like, I really try to focus on those things. I work with 3 grill brands right now, and I work with a couple of other companies long term, and, like, couldn't be happier. Like, they're all
Mm-hmm.
great people to work with, and it's they all put out great products and products I'm happy to promote.
Absolutely. And is it just, are you focused more so on the larger national brands at this point with your millions of followers? Or are you doing still small business sorts of deals? What does that look like for you?
And a lot of times I like to work. It's both. And I said five. It's six companies that I work with. It's both. Like, one of my favorite companies I work with is Bacon Up. It's bacon grease, and a lot of people are like, "You don't save your bacon grease." I do save my bacon grease, but they make a great product. I cook a lot, and also it's much cleaner than the bacon grease you save. So,
Mhm.
but that company is originally from Owensboro, Kentucky, where I'm from, and they're the best people. Like, they're great to work for. Just like the one of the owners, 3 or 4 brothers and a sister, and I've become good friends with one of the owners. And like, we just, if he's in town, we hang out, we go out for a beer. Just genuinely like him. I work with Rocket Fire Torch, really cool tool. I actually bought it myself because I wanted to use it. I used it in a video, and that video went viral. And the owner saw the video, and he was like, "Hey, man, you want to work together?" And, like, so, dude's a great guy. He's down in North Carolina, living the dream with his business. I work with Schwank Grills. It's an infrared grill, really great for cooking steaks. Primo ceramic grills. They're the only Kamado grill completely made in the United States, and awesome people, awesome product, awesome people. And then I just started working with RecTech out of Georgia, pellet grill company, and same, like, super happy, great product, love cooking on it. And then another one that goes into our trip out west is Browsy Acres. That is Travis Brown from UFC and his wife Ronda Rousey, who also, she's the goat of female UFC fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And they own an American Wagyu, full blooded Wagyu beef company, and also pasture raised chickens. Became friends with them when our trip last month went out there, got to cook for them, hang out with them, talk to Travis pretty much every day. And they're just good people, and they are super passionate about their products. They use regenerative farming. Great. That you should check out their website. I mean, it's like, the passion that they have for what they're doing is honestly, like, it'll make you passionate for it. I mean, it's just great. So I try to choose to work with companies that I believe in and that are going to believe in me,
Yep.
and it usually works out if you got to follow your instincts and follow your gut, and it's going to work out.
Absolutely. And you said something there in the beginning of that as you were talking about the brands that you work with. It's the R word, the relationships,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
That's what matters the most. If you look at the social media landscape from a consumer, then the brand, and then the content creator, like it's all one giant ecosystem where the brand has a campaign manager that needs to go out and find influencers to promote their products, etc. And if they've got somebody in their hopper, in their inbox that they like working with, that they can depend on, the content is predictable, it's not somebody that's going to give them a hard time over everything, they're going to get that business every single time.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and I think me personally, this is one of the lessons that I learned the hard way coming up, 200,000 followers ago, is that we are one of many. And there is lots and lots and lots of people with very large follower counts that can promote products. And when we get that email from that company that we love, that we want to work with, that we want to show off, like I think it's up to us to really go out of our way to work to build that relationship. And it ultimately means more business for us, the influencer, the content creator, going forward. And it just makes things easier for everybody. So kudos to you for being able to cultivate those relationships, stick with them, grow them at times when it's there for it, because you've obviously done good work before, and it's showing that they're not just hitting you up for your follower numbers, right? And
Right.
there's
Right.
there's a million companies that would want to be on your channel, but I would imagine that there's this 6 plus the handful of one-offs that come up are really going to be the only ones that are going to make it on there. So that's a really impressive feat that you've been able to do, that you've been able to run this as a business with a small handful of those very, very solid relationships. And I think that's something that up and coming content creators can really latch onto and take as advice coming out of this.
Yeah, and also, like you said there, as far as the relationships go, there are some companies that are up and coming, and they may not have a budget, but like
Mm-hmm.
if you like the product, like there's a guy in Tennessee is it's called Arbo's Cheese Dip, great product. The guy's a combat veteran. He flew a helicopter in the military, like awesome guy, and he messaged me, and I get tons of messages like want me to promote products and dude, I'm telling you, like my brother's a veteran, my brother-in-law's a veteran, so soft spot. So if I see that, like I'm going to be flooded with DMs for product
Yeah, there
placement,
you go.
but like I'm more apt, do it for that. And like I just messaged, Arbo back, Andrew, and I was like, man, I want to try your product. So he sent it to me. It was really good. He's growing, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, listen, dude, I'm going to use your product, and I know you can't pay me, but you got a good product. I think you're going to do well. So, like, I love doing videos for him because he's an awesome guy, and like, he's living the American dream too.
Yep.
And that was a relationship. So now he's my buddy. So you become friends with these people, and it's not. I love making money as much as the next person, but it's not all about money. You
Yep.
know.
And I would venture to say also, based on my experience, that when that message showed up initially in your inbox or your DM or whatever it was, based on what you've described to me, I would go out on a limb and say that they probably didn't start the pitch with all the things that they can do for you, and how you using their cheese dip in a video was going to boost your following and blah blah blah. Just that
100% not.
general
Yeah.
authenticity, right, comes
Oh,
across.
that's it right there.
Yep. And you can
Yeah.
really feel somebody out and their intentions as well,
Mhm.
because those emails come across every day of like, hey, you get to be featured on our Instagram page and we've got 10,000 followers and we're
Yeah.
going to we're going to send your account to the moon. And it's like, no, you're not.
But
And
what they
you're
don't tell you, a lot of those pages, is that we're also going to make money on ads that get ran on the videos we feature of yours, But we're not
yeah,
going to share it with you.
that's right. And that's something that content creators always need to be on the lookout for, is especially if you're doing a deal that you're not quite sure about, look into it, ask some questions, and get those questions answered and make sure that you feel really good about that, because I've got horror stories myself that I could tell over a bourbon and a dark smoky bar sometime of companies making tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars off the content that I've made. And it's just one of those things that you learn. And that's one of the points of the show here, is to give new and up and coming influencers and content creators that look behind the curtain of what it's been like for folks that have been doing this for years and overcoming those hurdles. Be very careful. I'm looking right into the camera here. Be very careful with the details of the deals that you sign, because you never know when they could come back and haunt you and bite you in the rear end. You have to feel good about them from jump. Otherwise, you're going to be iffy the entire way out there.
Number one is, which I have an agency that represents me now for deals, but except for the other ones I already had. The number one, so many companies will they get perpetual rights to your videos. And then like that company could you might go a completely different direction with your content, and they might continue to run, and it could hurt you in the long run. So yeah, you definitely got to read all the fine print. I work with Luma Media Group, and Braden, my agent, he's great, handling all that stuff. So yeah, you definitely gotta watch that stuff.
Yeah. And the definition of perpetual usage on your content means that the company can literally use it forever for whatever they want. They can make money off of that forever, all by sending you, who knows, sometimes it's a free box of seasoning or whatever. And you get zero out of that. And what that really means is that company never has to pay you again, or they never paid you the first time, right? So always something to be on the lookout for when you're signing those deals or taking that free thing. Sometimes it's going to be a lot more costly than what it could have been for you in the long run. So great advice there, Matt. We've covered a lot. We've covered your background. We've covered your platforms and how you think about content, your niche, great partners that you work with, and things that you're on the lookout for. My question for you right now, before we wrap up, is what's next for Cooker of Deliciousness and the accounts, and how you think about maybe the next year or the next 2 years out for you and what you're doing?
I'm just going to continue to try to grow my brand, and it's also to the point where I'm growing enough that it was a blessing for me to be here, and I feel like it would be a shame if I didn't do something good with it. So I'm trying to do some things and give back. I'm doing a pop-up menu at a local restaurant this weekend, and I put a lot of time and effort into this, and 100% of anything that is earned and would be given to me, I'm donating to 3 local sports programs that I'm partial to. It's hard. I know a lot of people will be like, well, why don't you donate to this, to that? I will do that stuff in the future too. But, these kids work hard, and I strongly believe in kids getting involved in something, staying out of trouble. And, there's some good kids, and I think this is a good cause. And I want to continue to do things like that. Not just that, I'm always game to do stuff for veterans. My brother's in law enforcement. He's one of the best men I've ever met.
And that's really the beauty of being your own boss, right? You don't answer to anybody else. If you want to work with one group, that's the truth. That is very much the truth here. You get to work with who you want to work with, and every dollar that comes in goes to you and the family and Uncle Sam, of course. But there's not a large corporation that's making tons and tons of money based on the work that you're doing and giving you a small percentage of it. Yeah. So lots of upside in the business. It does take a ton of hard work. You heard Matt say it, stubbornness and persistence, understanding that you're going to be a success with this regardless of what it takes to get there, and just powering through and seeing through the ups and downs. So excellent advice coming from Matt. Matt, I really appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experience with the audience. For everybody listening, you can go to influencerincomeshow.com. You'll find all of Matt's information. Cooker of Deliciousness across all platforms is where you'll find him. There'll be links to his website. You can find us on YouTube, where you'll see the full video stream and just how handsome Matt actually is. He'll tell it to you every day, but you can go see it on YouTube. Influencerincomeshow.com.
My mom told me I was handsome when I was 8, and I've just clung on to that.
I see it. I can see it. I love it. Thank you so much for being with us today, Matt. I really appreciate it, and best of luck in the future.
All right, appreciate it, bro.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Influencer Income Show. Head on over to influencerincomeshow.com, where you'll find all the video streams of the interviews that we've done on the YouTube channel right on the website. also get the audio podcast on all major streaming platforms. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms you watch and listen on. It really helps the show, and I would really appreciate it. See you next week.